And we are heading into our first game in the semifinals, best of three, spawning in the western side. Spawning in the western side as the Holy Roman Empire. It is GiveUA again, using his prelate, spreading the word of their Lord Jesus Christ to inspire those villagers just that much quicker, and playing as the Rus. It is Baltune going with the usual Rus build of the hunting cabin, the house, and the lumber camp. It does have a sheep all the way out here. Let me ride that lumber camp, or that hunting cabin, excuse me. And I mean, well, if you're able to get that sheep, as long as the villagers aren't walking that far, who cares, right? Baltune finding both of these deer patches basically right in front of his town center, which will be beneficial to him, and going for the normal 3 scout, having that 3rd scout coming out of his hunting cabin. We'll be able to pick up some sheep as well. Now, GiveUA, I think he did the very smart decision here in Dark Age, adding that 2nd scout. I get it. It's at the cost of a villager, but for the HRE, especially when they're trying to get up to castle, and when they do that kind of fast castle build, they need sheep. Having that sheep is so important, being under that Aachen Chapel and making your castle timing just that much quicker. And if you're not able to get a lot of sheep, you're really screwed. And GiveUA really would not have gotten a good spawn out of this, because we have this berry patch up north, which is fine. But we got a deer patch all the way out front. This deer patch all the way out front, with GiveUA finally found. And we'll be able to take down. And it looks like Baltune already starting to go for wolves, because if it's 3 scouts against 1, going to my prior point, if it's 3 scouts against 1, and you become deficient in the sheep department, you know, being able and having to move and doing all of those things is so difficult. Really slows down your castle age timing. Baltune does have the ability to go to wheelbarrow, and I want to really quickly go to the regular UI because I want to see what bounty he is at. He is at 190. So we'll keep track of that. Hopefully he finds, for his sake, he finds some other wolves. I'll try to get up to that 250 as best as possible. But now take a look. GiveUA going with the Aachen Chapel, and as you can see, doing really good to go around the wood and the stone, not so much the gold. So it might be for GiveUA a 2nd town center kind of thing instead of a fast castle. Now I have seen him do this before in a rather stone and wood heavy environment, to the point where we fast castled anyway, but that was in an HRE mirror and it was kind of inevitable. Baltune, on the other hand, going for Golden Gate. This is our first Golden Gate. Obviously, for everybody, you know this landmark. If you've played Rus, you love this landmark because of how good it is on the macro side of things. And Baltune will be using it because of these villagers on stone, and we'll be using it to get a 2nd town center, I would imagine. A lot of Rus builds still continuing to go with that 2nd town center. And this Rus build is no stranger to that. We'll see if he buys either a little bit of stone or a little bit of food. But as you can take a look at his resource, his macro, here are only 3 villagers on food, 6 on wood, with no wooden fortress around here. That wooden fortress would delay the amount of time it actually takes to get that town center up. Wheelbarrow a little bit late because it took a while to find that wolf to get up past that 200 bounty mark. And as GiveUA goes up with the Aachen Chapel, like I always say, giving the prelate their megaphone around that large influence, and is going up with a 2nd town center. He's got 12 on stone. Only has a couple on wood though, but just because of the amount of wood that he's had previously, will be going up rather easily. Now, Baltune, his bounty, not as good as I think he wanted it to be, because he probably was looking for a 2nd town center in this area. And when we're talking about Rus, got to talk about our pork products. We got a boar all the way out here on the east side We have another boar on the south side, not as readily available for Baltune, so he's going to go for this one down south. Not sure if the macro is going to be there for him. Needs to buy a little bit more stone. The issue is his bounty not as good as it was. Previously going to need that boar in order to get the extra 150 stone to make a town center. We'll see if he actually pulls this off at a good time. Now, GiveUA on the other side wants to take on some of the steer patch that was previously killed just because you're playing against Roos. And we'll be able to do so pretty well. We'll make good lumber drop off point as well. That golden gate working perfectly with this build. Having that 75 gold gets him back up to 100 gold so he can buy the stone, get that second town center up. And what's really interesting is for the Roos, they were the quickest to get that second town center. As GiveUA's one scout goes down, they were the quickest to get that second town center around like the season 2 area. Nowadays, because of getting that little bit of extra stone, civilizations like the HRE going to be able to get that second town center that much quicker because of their ability to mine the stone and mine the wood at a quicker capacity. So it's a really interesting dynamic and change. But now with that boar going down for Baltune, he is going to be over the 250 mark, and it looks like for him, I'm not seeing anything in terms of military production out of either player. And as soon as I say that, I pan over the GiveUA's base, who has a stable, is going to pump out a couple of horsemen in Feudal Age, which is rather interesting to me. I'm not sure if he's going to be using those horsemen in order to do something like raid, or if he's going to do something just to get a little bit of map presence, because for GiveUA, his base, as the HRE, these wood lines out in front make his starting town center rather defendable. These outside deer patches in the second town center, not so much, but his starting town center, yes. Some of the horsemen that he's going to make maybe will help him get a little map control, because we got to look at our religious artifacts against when we're playing with an HRE player in the game. And that second town center from Baltune is actually in a pretty precarious position. Hope everyone enjoys the alliteration. For these relics being kind of encircling around that town center, and there's a sacred site there as well. I would say for GiveUA, not great in terms of the relic placement for him. This relic is about midway between both players. This is the only quote-unquote safe one for him. These three are going to be pretty challenging for him to get, especially with that town center up, so we'll see what he chooses to do. But both of these players, just based on the production, Baltune going completely naked for a fast castle, doesn't even have any production building, doesn't need him, doesn't care, doesn't want him. The only thing he's using that wood for now, probably to buy some gold. He's also looking to mine some all the way on the south as well. Try to get that little bit to go up to castle. Now GiveUA is probably going to be able to click the Castle Age button before Baltune does. Baltune's still waiting on that little bit of food. That's going to help him out. I think he queued up a couple villagers, but having that board drop off of about 300 food is just fantastic, isn't it? As a Roos player, you love to see it. GiveUA is going to hit the button first. Obviously goes up with the Regnant Cathedral, which I think we could all see from left field. And we'll be trying to get those relics now. He's scouting out with his scout and the couple horsemen that he has. What I'm assuming is this horseman might end up patrolling this area. This horseman chasing this scout to essentially infinity until it actually gets back to his hometown center now. Baltune is able to hit his button just a little bit slower and goes for the Abbey of the Trinity. One of personally my favorite landmarks that this game has to offer, just because of how well it works with those warrior monks. And you know, when you're going up against an HRE player who only has prelates in order to take some of these relics, you having warrior monks as a Roos player is a very good advantage just because of its ability to, one, attack, and two, have as much health as it does. It also gets those improvements from Boyar's Fortitude to give it that little bit of extra. And now we have a horseman guarding this relic like his life depended on it, waiting for that prelate to pick it up. And it will do so. On the other side, Baltune going in Castle Age, adding more horse archers. I think if these guys know that I'm casting them, and I think that's the only reason why they're making horse archers, but they're continuing to. And actually, I mean, horse archers are good against HRE. They usually go for a lot of melee style builds. Usually see a lot of stables, a lot of barracks where horse archers benefit them if you're able to kite with good APM. Baltune's first warrior monk will be hitting the battlefield very soon. You see some of these scouts and a horse archer trying to be able to take down this prelate. I don't know if it's going to be able to do it successfully. Probably needs one good shot. That second horse archer is going to be able to clean it up. Now, if any of you are American football watchers, a lot of the times with these relic games, it's kind of like a battle for field position. Essentially, we see in the beginning the prelates, you know, a lot of prelates are going to die in the making of this to happen. And some warrior monks are going to end up dying as a result as well. But the whole idea is just moving that relic closer to your area where you have to deposit it. It ends up being really good. So this warrior monk does a very good job. It's super tanky, going to change the way the field position is for the Roost player, moving it even more northeast. I would say just keep rushing the ball to the end zone, buddy. He's going to get this relic as well. Now the HRE does have a couple back home already, so just being that little bit quicker up to castle means he gets these relics. So as of right now, for an Abbey of the Trinity, it's kind of sad being that it's the Trinity, but it's more like Abbey of the Duality, I guess. Because you're only going to get 2 relics into that bad boy now. Now this Castle Age, and especially this early Castle Age, is really when Roost gets a decent power spike because of its ability to take map control, especially against an HRE player. Doing a good job of getting a little bit of that map control, getting some of these deer patches, and we'll be going on to the second one with a food per minute out the wazoo. Especially in about the 12-minute range. Having about, you know, we saw before of that 1,000 to 1,100 something food per minute is outstanding. And it's so important because of how much food it takes for the army that Baltune is making. As you can see, he's got stables, he's got archery ranges pumping horse archers, 80 food, 40 wood. These stables, 140 food, 100 gold. Pumping out knights consistently. So it's a lot of food production, and you're going to need that little bit of gold as well. The hunting cabin's going to provide you enough trickle? Probably not. We have some gold miners here to try to help him out in that department. Now, military count 22 to 11 in favor of Baltune, and a lot of these being horse archers. Army value, obviously a lot different as well, just because of the sheer mass. Now, GiveUA, don't think he knows in terms of army comp what he wants to do here. I'm seeing some spearmen that are of the Dark Age variety. I don't think they have, I'm not sure if they have helmets or not. Oh yeah, they do. They have little brown helmets. And men-at-arms. One of the issues about men-at-arms is the fact of how slow they are, and they're able to kite. But GiveUA doing the correct thing, and I've seen him do this so many times as HRE, just getting those sprinkled outposts as soon as you can. Just continue to do it. And also GiveUA trying to get a little cheeky here with this wooden fortress. Oh, I would say just let it go. Baltune does get it built. Is going to be able to move those out of the way. The Roost player, Baltune, having a lot of the map control here, getting all 3 of the sacred sites, and will be able to continually push because of that. Now this wooden fortress is in a rather fantastic spot because not only is it going to provide a little bit of stability, trying to figure out what the HRE player is doing, but it's also going to prohibit these deer patches from becoming HRE gatherable. which is huge. There's a spring emplacement coming up for that wooden fortress as well. That wooden fortress is rather, I mean, cheeky compared to where these springald shots are actually going. They're going to be able to bolster his wood, or his food income, excuse me. And look at this army from the Rus player. We do have warrior monks getting in some attacks, making sure we've got Saint's Blessing coming up on a lot of these units, making sure that these sacred sites stay in Rus control, and continuing to pump out units. Now look at Baltune at about 1,400-ish food per minute. As soon as I say that, it goes down by 300, but 1,400-ish food per minute, continuing to max out because of how food heavy his army is, with basically your knights and horse archers. Warrior Monk gonna make sure, just because of how tanky it is, gonna make sure that the sacred site doesn't get decapped. We have another one over here, pulling the knight over just to make sure it doesn't get decapped. And a lot of the times for Baltune, doesn't necessarily need to put walls around these areas. This is just going to be, just because of the mobility of the Rus army, it's going to make it so he doesn't really need to do that. He'd be able to move in all different directions if he wants to. The sacred site's starting to get decapped on the western side. And now here comes the horde. They're just be able to, you know, they're able to move all of these three places pretty easily. Always has something around, maybe 2 or 3 knights, something like that, being able to take this thing down. Now GiveUA really needs some, trying to get his food farm economy going, and trying to take down this wooden fortress just to give him a little bit of time to do that. GiveUA doing a good job of adding siege. I really like him using a mangonel here. It's really going to help him out against all of the horse archers that are here. Army composition for GiveUA, man-at-arms, some spearmen, decent amount of horsemen as well, but just the total count, underwhelming compared to Baltune, 55 to 37. Baltune choosing to abandon this area, getting rid of this wooden fortress, and getting rid of this hunting cabin. Gonna make some walls around the other side, but maybe might be able to get some hits with some horse archers, able to do that successfully. One prelate said his last prayer, joining the second prelate. Hopefully he got his last rites read to him. We got some villagers trying to take down this warrior monk, rather interesting, and actually they'll be able to do so, I think, just because of how much. Oh, its prayers were answered at only 3 health. Baltune continuing to go for that sacred victory at about 7 minutes. GiveUA deciding to continue into that military route. But this is a fantastic, if you're playing against HRE, this is a very good tactic. Against HRE, you're going for that super mobile mass. They do not have much in the way of spearmen. They have some heavy maces on those men-at-arms, which are going to make them pretty good against the knights. However, it's just how much they have. First player did get this boar all the way to the south, most of it being harvested already. One thing from Baltune I might not necessarily appreciate. Here we go, Knight Mass coming. Oh, trying to get those mangonel snipes. Look at what GiveUA does in terms of his micro. He puts his men-at-arms and his spearmen all the way around those mangonels, so the knights never have a chance to actually get there. Now we're going to continue with another mass. Mangonel shots getting good hits on horse archers. Looks like only 2 horse archers go down. But here we have our first actual battle of the game. Oh, huge mangonel hits on some of those horse archers. Horsemen flank from the south. The knights are so busy with all of the other stuff that is going on in the north, trying to get rid of those mangonels. 2 mangonels do go down. Third mangonel is continuing to fire. Mostly knights are the only thing that are left for Baltune. Not so much in the way of horse archers, but because of the amount of army that GiveUA actually had at the start of this fight, it does mean that GiveUA does have to take the loss in this battle. The siege, that third mangonel finally going down. He did have a replacement there that was going to get moved, but decided to walk it back in the opposite direction. Now, GiveUA's got to be thinking about remassing, and I'm not sure if he necessarily has the time for a remass. Its Sacred Victory is approaching 5 minutes. Baltune is going to continue to move that army up. He's got 31 horse archers, 25 knights, and continuing to make knights. He has not been getting raided pretty much at all throughout the entirety of this battle. Oh, there's still a couple deer carcasses there. Could be a little snack for Baltune if he decides to. Good call on this fortified palisade wall. Look what he has. He has wooden fortresses back here with spring-old upgrades trying to take hit. And these fortified palisade walls are so chunky. Take a look at how much health they have. 2,500 health. That spring-old tower just all day. He can continue to fire on it, but more importantly, what does this palisade wall do? Make sure that the Sacred Victory timer continues to tick and gives the Bruce army the enough time to actually get over here and contest if they need to. Even a cheeky wooden fortress all the way up here with a spring-old upgrade Baltune. Dirty. It does end up get taken down by a lot of the HRE mass as well. So now, Sacred Victory about 3 minutes, 40 seconds. Military town continuing to favor Baltune. 73 to 44 economic count has been pretty much equal for the duration of the game. Their second town centers went up at just about the same time. Trying to get these fortified palisade walls down. Now, this gives enough time. Now, I mean, you can see that palisade wall ticking down, but that gives enough time to perhaps get a keep in the background as Baltune's wooden fortress is also getting focused down as well. So it's going to give him enough time, kind of just waste a little bit of time. That keep about halfway up. Would have really loved for Baltune having some warrior monks in here, trying to get those things healed to full health, but takes the fight at half health anyway. There are a lot of mangonels that are getting encircled. One mangonel goes down. These knights are kind of getting chewed apart by a lot of spearmen. Look at those mangonel shots. A couple horse archers. Looks like 3 to 4 horse archers end up going down. Baltune's got to back up, but he technically, I will say he lost this battle. Look at all the knight corpses on the ground. But I think the reason why he did that was particularly to win the war, as the keep went up on the western side. Baltune deciding to change, or GiveUA, excuse me, deciding to change what sacred site he decides to go for, and he's going to go for the middle instead. We have these horsemen not protecting, GiveUA's horsemen not protecting, only spearmen trying to protect those mangonels. There is still a mangonel there that does get a snipe from 3-point land all the way in the back. Horsemen going to be able to be taken down by these horse archers, and hopefully we'll be able to take down the spearmen, because these knights just keep running in to spearmen, and it has been disastrous for them. They're going to need to be able to take some of those down. It looks like the mass for Baltune is actually starting to dwindle. I think it's going down at a greater pace than he can actually recover from. 17 horse archers, now 20 horse archers. Land snakes coming in the mix. Baltune trying to micro them down to the best of his ability. Men-at-Arms actually tanking up a little bit better than I assumed they would. We do have some spearmen and some land snakes coming in. Now, Baltune, if he loses the sacred site, gets the cap off, GiveUA could have the potential to go up to Imperial, and that could spell doom. Mangonels with huge shots on these horse archers. Relatively not microed that time. And one of the things that make horse archers good is if you have enough of them. If you're in a mass, having 6 or 7 not going to help you. Baltune realizes he cannot win after that sacred site gets decapped and ends up calling it. Man, he had a military lead throughout the duration of this game. Let's take a look at these graphs here. Look at this. About the 12-minute mark. Did get, we had a little bit of relic, infighting, as we do, HRE, Roos, and Castle. Both of them went fast Castle. Baltune with the ability to have units out the wazoo took that first battle at minimal losses. But the issue is, I mean, there were so many spearmen to the point where those horse archers weren't going to be able to take them down. Land snakes got in there, maybe got a couple good shots. It was Mangonel having devastating hits on them. The knights for Rus weren't able to get around and really encircle that area. So you see that, I mean, cliff of a military count for Baltune, and GiveUA does get the victory in this one. Spawning in on the north, on Golden Heights, playing as the English, it is GiveUAnxiety now spawning in the south in the color red, as also the English, probably a different province, is Baltune. Now we are playing on Golden Heights, okay? Golden Heights is a rather peculiar hybrid map just because that 15% of water is going to dictate the entirety of the game. And as we see here, we have a GiveUA villager, one over here, along with a scout. Going to be trying to get a dock up over on this side. What does Baltune do on the opposite end? He actually adds 6. So one villager, probably not enough. Going to add 6 instead. GiveUA going for a barracks. Not near a starting town center. Going to go more so in the area of the dock just to make sure he has that advantage of getting those men-at-arms there as soon as possible. Baltune not actually going for a dock at all, which is incredibly interesting. Baltune going for an outpost. Going to take a shot at a scout. But going for an outpost and then going for a mill, just going to gather his own shorefish there. Make sure he has that area. And then might end up having a dock afterward. But GiveUA is going to have some Vanguard men-at-arms. Take 15 seconds to build, so actually not that long. First one's going to pop out with a ranged armor of 3. So does pretty good against the villagers and their bows. However, not so much to an outpost. And that outpost is really going to help him out. As you can see, 4 of them get garrisoned in. Men-at-arms going to get just about a quarter of its health down. Now, if I'm GiveUA, I'm completely perplexed. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do now. He is continuing with the Vanguard men-at-arms, trying to get some shots in, but just because of this outpost, like, it's never going to happen. Because that men-at-arms was essentially all for naught. You have the 150 food here, or the 150 wood here, excuse me, for GiveUA's barracks. And then adding another men-at-arms as well, so those villagers are going to be able to pull. Men-at-arms going to be able to take some of this fire. It looks like it's about 1/4 health. Second men-at-arms trying to come in here now. For both of these players, because of Baltune's idle time coming to this area of water and GiveUA making the barracks a second barracks, he's looking to kind of steamroll over this area. He wants to make sure he has amassed enough for enough men-at-arms to kind of take down that outpost. Is continuing with the second full health men-at-arms. Ends up getting a good pull by Baltune. He is staying ever so aware of this particular area. That men-at-arms escapes with 1 health. He is bleeding all over the shore. Some more men-at-arms getting created from GiveUA, and obviously this is going to change his feudal time massively. Well, Baltune on the other side, the only thing he wants to do is make sure he's continuing to gather from his little bit of shorefish here. Gonna take some shots at some men-at-arms. These men-at-arms are gonna create that little bit of idle time, but you know, Baltune's trying to get up to, he's trying to get up to feudal age. And I think he'll be able to do that pretty successfully if he continues to micro as well as he is. This men-at-arms going to be at 1/4 health. I'm not sure if it's going to escape with its life. And does not. First one hitting the battlefield. And as you can see, no other docks. No other things trying to be made here. Baltune's micro with this outpost is fantastic. GiveUA adding another men-at-arms, making men-at-arms number 5. On the other side, Baltune going to be able to go up to Feudal Age. Going to go for that Council Hall, and we'll be done probably within about 45 seconds. GiveUA continuing to mass up as much as he can. I think he's just trying to win this in Dark Age, it feels like. He feels like if he's able to take down these 6 villagers, then it'll be able to snowball him to a victory, and he is generating a decent amount of idle time, but for all of the food that he's getting from all of these villagers here, 15 villagers, he's just pumping them into man-at-arms. And I think if he's really going to go, he's got to go and pull every single men-at-arms to try to get this tower down. I just don't know if 7's going to be enough. Continuing to micro them down. Most of them are at about half health now, except for this men-at-arms that for somehow is still alive. Gets picked off. Headshot by that villager. So now the men-at-arms are going to try to take this thing down. We got 1 men-at-arms going down in the process. Baltune doing a good job of targeting the men-at-arms that are at low health. So it looks like 4 total men-at-arms went down. We'll be able to rebuild that outpost just a little bit. It really helped Baltune if he was able to get arrow slits, but just because of how early it is in the game, it's going to be pretty difficult for him to do so. Baltune not making anything out of his Council Hall. I was pretty interested to see if he was going to go with Longbowman. To start, it does have, looks like he's kind of struggling in that food department just because of these villagers all the way out here. And with more men-at-arms just continuing to funnel his way in there, GiveUA's thinking Dark Age, you know, I was born in it, molded by it. And these villagers are going to start going down, and he's actually going to take this area for himself. Baltune starting to add Longbowmen in, but not as quickly as you'd like it to be. We'll end up winning this area. A couple villagers going down. Economic lead for GiveUA at 24 to 21. Now I'm curious to see if GiveUA ends up capitalizing on that and decides to build dock, or if he just continues to make a landmass. Now GiveUA trying to track down these villagers, trying to track down these longbowmen. It looks like he's just going to use that 1 men-at-arms to just be annoying. That longbowman, they do have to kite it, and they're going to continue to kite it all the way. These villagers, if we take a look at movement speed, 1.12. Men-at-arms, 1.12. So it's going to be rather difficult. This villager at 2. Men-at-arms does find it, gives it a slash, plus 5 in the economic count for GiveUA, and now is able to go up with his own Council Hall. Has 8 villagers in order to do that. This mill's still getting burned down here. So with the amount of men-at-arms that GiveUA made, I really thought while watching it, I was like, this could be a waste. And he could be perpetually in Dark Age. That doesn't end up to be the case, and he's going to be going up to Feudal Age. Baltune, however, not getting rid of this water area so easily. Going to decide to put a dock down all the way down on the south end. And hopefully we'll be able to get, because he's in Feudal Age, we'll be able to get maybe an archer ship or a springald ship to make sure that he keeps this area. GiveUA now sending a villager to his own right, all the way over to the east, and will probably try to get a dock of his own. But now with Baltune with about 11 longbowmen, it's going to be rather difficult for him. If those longbowmen are going to patrol the area, they're going to be able to find any kind of dock that he decides to make, but he builds it all the way in the north corner. Longbowmen are trying to get in that particular direction. Early men-at-arms already in. And those men-at-arms are just so tanky. Look at how much those longbowmen need to kite. We have a couple flanking men-at-arms, although they're not that quick. They can flank. All the way to the north side, making sure this dock actually goes up, so it's huge. On the flip side, Baltune not going for any kind of fishing ships at all, going straight for the galley, straight for the arrow ship. Really like this idea from him. He doesn't know that this dock is safe, but GUA finally finds it, able to take it down. Baltune is housed, actually. I'm not able to get that galley out. Now ends up having that. And the galley gets completed. Now, these galleys, with their arrow ships, they do fire a decent amount of arrows in burst attack, but not going to do well against the Hulk. Hulk coming out in about 2 seconds. This villager might end up going down, but look at the RNG of that archer ship. I'll tell you what's not RNG. One of these Hulk springle bolts going straight to your dome. And that's exactly what happened. This Hulk trying to take shots at these longbowmen, trying to get them to go down, and it looks like with each one being at about 35, could be able to one-hit them. Baltune not having anything in his dock right now, but trying to take down this galley to the best of his ability. Flip side, longbowman, little bit of a cheeky raid over here. Baltune realizes that all of his villagers have short bows, so they end up getting taken down. And we have our first shipwreck of Baltune's galley on the south side. Now, Baltune continuing to not make anything out of his dock. I'm not really sure what his plan is. He's going to go for dock. If he's going to go for any kind of naval, economy here. Or if he's going to continue to just be on land because of how many longbows he's continuing to push out. Whereas GUA, correctly, because of all the barracks that he has, the only thing that he's really pumping out are men-at-arms. As you see here, they take no wood. So all of the wood economy that GUA has is going right into the Navy. Baltune adding a second dock over here on the south side will help him out. Obviously, 2 docks better than 1. But he's going to have to reestablish himself in the Naval Warfare Department. Where did that springled bolt... That just went into Narnia. Anybody see that? The springle bolt went nowhere. Demo ship coming out for Baltune. Let's see if he can hit this Hulk. Not paying attention, GUA. That's a Hulk down. Not a bad trade. For how many resources it actually takes to make a Hulk in terms of demo ship, going to be rather effective for him. GUA continuing a longbowman rush. Just with a scout, so Baltune pulls all of his longbowmen over here on the western side of his base. But now GUA knows if there's no longbowmen, if the longbowmen are all in his base, that means there's none near that ever popular area of where this dock is. So we'll be able to get some good hits and perhaps try to develop his economy a little bit more. Men-at-Arms trying to get a rush in for GUA, trying to get some idle time on this gold. Now, because of all of the gold villagers here, I see about 7. Couple worker kills over here as longbowmen will take out those villagers trying to make a wall. Multiple villagers going down because of that. Baltune now has about 15 longbowmen in GUA starting area with no outpost. Oh, and they micro the mining camp instead of the villagers. But GUA's still not paying attention. He's very concerned with up here. Look at the RNG in this thing. It's so terrible. So that villager finally going down, though. A lot of workers go down. Look at all of these villager corpses. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Worker kill count now. 8 for Baltune on GUA. Now Baltune also establishing some kind of naval superiority, just adding that second dock. Only 1 Hulk here for GUA. He's got 2 by the way of Baltune, and that wood line just got massively idled. GUA's deer patch, very idled. Gonna have to drop off all of these resources. Is gonna give him enough to continuously pump men-at-arms, but there's only 3 longbows here to the 14 of Baltune. There's fighting going on multiple different angles. We have a men-at-arms rush by GUA on the south end, matriculating over to the west, going to try to take down this wood line. Again, Baltune's longbowman mass all the way over in GUA's base. GUA trying to take some kind of initiative, but all of these villagers having those short bows, means those men-at-arms just keep getting picked apart. all of them being at 2 damage apiece, essentially, with all those bows. You have a group of 20-some villagers taking out all of the reason why they could possibly die. GiveUA on the other side, a little bit of an economic disadvantage, being 35 villagers to 39. That wall not going to do much for you. With only 12 health, just going to end up coming back around. Trying to save himself on water, not going to really be as beneficial just because of the economy that's there. And all of these villagers have to vacate again. Drop off their resources, change their wood line. He might be going up north. I don't think he has anywhere to put these. He has no idea what to do with them. And on the back end, his naval, both economy and military, getting decimated. GiveUA just decides to take the fight to the longbowmen themselves. And actually doing a good job. Those villagers kind of holding their own, making sure they get some good hits on a lot of these longbowmen. They're starting to go down, the men-at-arms tanking some shots. The only difference is, yes, you killed a lot of longbowmen, and, you know, that's very good. But there's so much idle time here. Look at how many villagers of idle time that is. That's 25 of his 32 villagers. Idled currently. And because of that, he had to micro all of this, ended up losing water. That dock going down because of it. Not looking good for GiveUA, guys. And a 1-0 lead for GiveUA. Baltune trying to force a game 3. He knows he has that little bit of superiority because of all the worker kills that he had at a 14 villager lead. He's walling up behind it. And it's just English doing English things. He's going to make this giant wall behind him, making sure he has stone, gold. He's got his wood lines. He's got his farms. Now, he doesn't care about the rest of the game. He'll go up to castle. He'll go, you know, maybe up to imperial. Who cares? English is such a defensible civ. He has his little bit of longbowman bass here. They'll continue to just take shots. Not going to be able to take this palisade gate down. While GiveUA is trying to stabilize in just about every department imaginable. Baltune adding economy in his second area. GiveUA pulling 21 of his 32 villagers. Let's take a look here. Actually 28 total on food. It's insanity. GiveUA trying to get some kind of a push going here. Gate trying to get repaired. Villager ends up going down because of it. No upgrade for either player, actually. And GiveUA has to back up again just because of those longbowmen. GiveUA obviously has to know he's behind here by a significant margin. And Baltune just about at that 600 gold mark to try to go up to Castle Age, and I'm sure he will do so successfully. Probably adding a King's Palace if I were to think about it. Probably in his base and doing some turtling as the English love to do. GiveUA doesn't really have the option to do things like turtle. Just because of how all in he did go with his men-at-arms in the beginning. And has his barracks out here on this area. Now Baltune does go for King's Palace out by the south wood line. Trying to take a longbowman fight here. I'm not sure how well that's going to go for him. A lot of men-at-arms can only attack a palisade gate. He does have the longbowman count here. Try to pick these off one by one and will be doing so successfully. Not enough longbowmen here are going to be able to pick off these villagers, especially in one hit. So a lot of these end up going down. Only one longbowman left. Now the only thing he has are men-at-arms. They can't do anything about it. This palisade gate's going to get repaired essentially endlessly. Baltune has the economy right now, being at 600 food, 300 gold-ish. Going to be able to make his Castle Age units, and what does he do? He's got stables out here already. Look at all these stables. 1, 2, 3. Gonna start pumping knights out. And against feudal age men-at-arms and feudal age longbowmen, those castle age knights definitely with the doctor order. They're going to continue to try to be repaired. At this point, if you're Baltune, I mean, you might as well just let it go down. By the time he sees any kind of knight, it's probably game. And that second town center going to be able to propel Baltune in the economic count. Not only because of all of the fishing that's going on here, but also having that extra town center. Making sure his food and gold count is obviously high. All of these knights coming in at 230 health. Good luck. Baltune does have the economy to continuously pump these out as well. It looks like GiveUA continuing to try to do some kind of feudal age all-in because he knows he can never get to castle. And as long as Baltune masses up enough knights, he's completely okay. Melee armor 4 on these guys with those early men-at-arms only able to do 6 damage each. Just based on the armor calculations. Longbowman for Baltune on the south side eventually dwindled, but, you know, you kind of wonder how much it matters at this point with how many knights he's able to just funnel in here. Making sure they can keep taking all of that damage. GiveUA has a lot of villagers out here, not able to really go for farms too much. As you can see, he's got about 6 or 7 farms here, but really unable to do much in terms of the food economy just because he got denied on that dock. Now his army is continuing to dwindle. Military count 25 to 18. A lot of that military for Baltune, however, just because of what is on water, so you got to think about that in a little bit of detail. But GiveUA now has to back up, moving north with his feudal age longbowmen and early men-at-arms. Not going to be enough for these knights, and actually adding some feudal age spearmen, some hardened spearmen for himself. And honestly, I mean, when it comes to Baltune, it doesn't necessarily need to be a backup kind of thing for him if he only adds a couple spearmen. I mean, yeah, you have some longbowmen there that are going to help you out. Trying to get a raid over here on the east side, not going to be beneficial for him. You have a couple longbowmen that are going to help you out, but again, I mean, they're only feudal age spearmen. It's probably not actually beneficial if you wanted to back up it, but continuing to push out of his council hall, getting the veteran longbowman upgrade, so outclassing him in the front line, outclassing him in the actual range mass. One longbowman does actually go down. Now, GiveUA does have enough longbowmen to 2-tap a lot of these, and will have the ability to do so. And continuing to pump out those knights and those archers. Hopefully, they're going to have the ability to take down these spearmen now. Big fight coming in. Archers from the back end going to be able to one-hit these spearmen just because they're feudal age spearmen. There's no upgrades on anybody. The knights are going to be able to get in touch with that range mass, and as soon as they touch them, they're as good as dead. That area of Baltune's base becomes a graveyard. And Baltune going to take this one, with the score now evening out. Score is going to even out to 1 apiece. 1 for GiveUA, 1 for Baltune. Let's take a look at these graphs, shall we? Who loves math in chat? Big math guy, you know? Take a look. Villager count. Baltune has King's Palace. Villager count skyrockets. That's an easy one to figure out. And then also with the villager count, really good raids from Baltune continuing into feudal age. GiveUA's men-at-arms mass didn't necessarily equal out for him. Going into feudal age, wasn't able to get that dock. So we will get you this spectacular game 3. We are in caster mode, ladies and gentlemen, spawning in on the east, playing as the Rus. It is Baltune spawning in the west, playing as the Ottomans. on this dry Arabia map. It is GiveUAnxiety now. A Rus versus Ottoman matchup. I know with the Rus player, they have their particular build, which is actually, it goes for a little sheep by the hunting cabin. Baltune has done this in previous tournament games. This is so cute, isn't it? You just have that sheep that you're getting right next to that hunting cabin. It's fantastic. And also quicker than waiting for it to get to the town center. So pretty good there. Obviously, we're going to have our Dark Age scout battles, and for the Rus, and especially when playing the Rus, going to steal a sheep over there. While playing with a Rus player in the game, and we're going to see a little bit of a part of the minigame. Some people love it, some people hate it. I happen to love it, me personally. But we got to take a look at our pork products. We got a huntable boar all the way to the north. We have one a little bit closer to Baltune, all the way in the south. Not very blessed in terms of spawn for each of them. Going to take a little bit of idle time to actually matriculate all the way down there. But if he actually gets there, and Baltune might be going for a similar build that we've seen previously, but he goes for that 2 town center into Fast Castle, although if you're going to do it against Ottomans, might be a little tricky. GUA is the Ottomans going for the military school start. And I'm not really sure if that does have the benefit against Rus, because take a look at what's going on in the Rus base right now. We have the sheep right in front of the town center. We have the wood in the lumber camp. Maybe not in the best position, could be a little bit more south, but still kind of next to the town center and within range. So if a spearman actually gets out, not really going to do much, and I really don't think it's going to create much in the way of idle time. So I'm curious to see what people's opinions are as we have new people in chat. I'm curious to see your opinions in chat in terms of getting that military school up in Dark Age against Ottomans, if some of you guys are Ottomans yourselves. Now, usually my thing is when we see a Rus player, when they first click up into Feudal Age, I'll take a look at a caster mode to see what the bounty is. But I think for Baltune, he's been doing pretty well. I didn't see him get these deer patches, but I did see him get this one in the east. Fought over it, I should say. And I think he got this one in the south. Is able to take down a couple wolves here. That's an extra 50. Another one here for 75. And is going to go for the Golden Gate. No Kremlin gremlins today. So let me take a look at the regular UI here just to see his bounty. He's at 225, which is, if my math serves me correctly, it's good enough for wheelbarrow if Baltune decides to get that. And we'll get a couple more wolves, so he will get above that 250 area. So be at level 2 for that one. Now, Baltune is going to go for the same build as he did with the Ottomans, going for that second town center. And actually, a Rus mining camp in Dark Age, something that's becoming more popular, but I gotta come up with some new material, because some of my jokes were a Rus mining camp at Dark Age. I've never seen one before. I didn't even know they can make them. But I'm seeing them more frequently in this tournament. GUA going for the twin minaret. I know we talked about Rus a lot, but twin minaret coming in for GUA. And he has his spearmen kind of scattered around. We have one spearman right here, kind of moving his way south. And now I can kind of see, as this game starts to progress, as we're getting into, you know, the 4.5 minute, having a spearman over here might make Baltune think twice about getting a boar, for how far away these boar are on the south side and the north side. Looks like just having some military in the vicinity might make it a little difficult for the Rus player if he wants to venture out. So not necessarily thinking about what's going on in the base, it's what's going on afterward when he decides to spread out. So I kind of understand it from GUA as well. A little bit late for Baltune, but only had 3 villagers building the Golden Gate. So now that it's up, and he has just about 100 gold, perfect for that Golden Gate ticket. Gets that extra 150 stone. Little scout skirmish going on over here. But the extra 150 stone to get the town center, and with Perfect timing. Chef's kiss. Perfect timing. That town center going to be able to go up on the northeast side for Baltune around those deer carcasses, which is going to be so nice for him. Now, GUA, obviously playing as the Ottomans, not going for that second town center, but does have a little bit on stone, obviously, for the military schools. Made his change from Spearman to Sipahi, might be trying to get a raid going on. Does scout the second town center, as we can see here. Not going to be able to do much about it, but does scout it. It will be providing a good food resource for Baltune. Now I'm curious to see if we see any production buildings get dropped. The only thing we have is a refresh on a lumber camp. Probably going to see a wooden fortress a little bit later once we get to 175 wood, but I'm curious to see if any production buildings happen because GUA is ramping up. And the Ottomans do this in that kind of avalanche format. And the analogy I usually make is the Ottomans love to create that snowball in the beginning in that really early feudal. They end up getting their military schools, they get their production that they need, and all they really need to do is win the first battle, it feels like. Especially when they're playing against a Delhi or a civilization that really has that kind of feudal tenacity to them, where they really have to win battles in feudal. If the Ottomans just win one, their snowball rolls downhill, and all of a sudden you have an avalanche that you can't stop and you get buried under. So we'll see if GUA has the time to actually do that. Because for Baltune, he's just starting to add his military production right now. We only have an archery range. With only one archery range, going to be very difficult against some of these military schools. We've got a stable out here as well. It's going to be a little difficult. And probably be adding more. Now for the Rus, they do a little bit better against the Ottomans than, say, some other civs who can't necessarily ramp up as well, just because of the fact that Baltune does have the access to early knights if he chooses to. But is starting to queue up archers, and here we have some of our first Sapati hitting the battlefield, going to take out that scout. One of the things I love to do with the Ottoman metas, I'm going to zoom in so everybody can hear the bongos. There you go. It's very, I mean, obviously the sound of music is quite the powerful thing. Second archery range coming in for Baltune and a blacksmith as well. Will probably help him out. Now, for GUA, obviously military count 10 to 5, so is having double the military count. However, it's going to be difficult in terms of areas of raiding. Like we said before, I mean, in Dark Age, all the way down south, it's difficult for him to raid any of this area, and he's trying to, you know. We've got more meta action. Let's just do it again. Yeah, there you go. Was that C minor? I don't know. And, I don't know music. And then, up here with this town center is probably the only really raidable spot. So it's going to be difficult for him. And we just see, like, it just feels like wasps swarming around this area. Baltune finally getting to Gaul to get up here and get one of these North Boar. That plus 75 gold really going to help him out. Military count now 17 to 10 in favor of GUA. But Baltune having that second town center, pumping out consistently. Economic count in favor increased by 10. About 42 to 32 as next villager gets ticked over. Now Baltune does not obviously seem to be going in that castle realm. Going to be continuing to stay in feudal. And one of the things for the Rus that helped them out in the Ottoman regard, not only the early knights as previously mentioned, but the ability for him to produce archers as quickly as he is. As of right now, 14 archers just coming out of those couple archery ranges. His would permit it. Being the Rus, having wheelbarrow, having double broad axe, as you see, only lumber preservation is there, and having the wooden fortress means this wood economy is insane. And we'll be adding a stable as well. Curious to see if he goes horsemen or knights. Knights probably the better pick, but we'll see what he does. And as long as Baltune is able to continue to produce out of his second town center, he's okay with this happening. All of Baltune's scouts are deciding to die. They're not finding good areas. But as long as Baltune continues to maintain the economic progress, the only thing he really needs to do is stay alive and survive this. Adding a second stable as well. And is going with some early knights, so going for that classic knight archer combo. And does have all of his blacksmith upgrades as well. I am going to check for the Ottomans, and they're continuing. GUA is continuing to get his upgrades, but what's really nice for Ottomans, especially for low elo players, if you're worried about getting your upgrades, if you think you don't get your upgrades quickly enough, Ottomans, probably a good move for you. Because you have to build that blacksmith for that military production. Third stable coming in for Baltune, and I wonder if he's going to be able to continuously produce knights out here. Out of all of these stables. Food per minute pretty good, gold per minute not so much. Is going to be adding a wall here. It does have some villagers over here to the east side, and I really like if Baltune is waypointing this area. Looks like he is not. They are going west, probably toward more wood, making sure he can pump out as many archers as possible. One of the things for the Rus you got to worry about is your macro, and especially your wood macro. It is very easy, as you see he's getting 1,200 wood a minute. It's very easy to bottleneck yourself in the food department, especially because of how much wood that you have. Trying to get a... oh, that's not a raid, that's a scout. But coming back, GUA making battering rams. It's ram ranch time, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see with these battering rams where he's going to be able to go with them. I mean, Baltune's production largely in front, but like typical Rus bases, everything's pretty compact. You know, everything's really on top of each other, so it's going to be really hard to pick an area where you can necessarily raid. I mean, the south if you wanted the landmark snipe, but now with military count 41 to 31 in favor of GUA, trying to come in a little bit, takes that one unlucky villager. We'll see these archers in what a good line formation. If you're not doing line formation, you should be. With how many archers that he has. He's got 22 total Baltune. Look how many archers he can put in his queue. Currently, he's housed continuously adding more archery ranges because of his wood per minute. He's at 6 archery ranges that I can see on screen. And 3 stables trying to continuously pump out. These knights trying to help these archers, trying to save these archers. Meta getting sniped down by GUA. He is metterless. There is no music going on. Knights being a good front line for these archers, continuously trying to pick them off. There are a couple spearmen over here going to be able to get some hits on these knights, but there are no units that are able to deal damage to knights right now. And the Ottoman front line, GUA's front line, has essentially disintegrated. That Meta gets sniped down very quickly. All the Sipahi are pretty much dead. We have a couple knights here. One Sipahi actually remaining in that group of Rus archers will soon die. And look at how many knights Baltune has left. This is just the power of Defender's advantage. Baltune's army now starting to get out of its shell, matriculate from east to west, and making the Ottomans back up. And that, ladies and gentlemen, especially as the Rus, that's how you stop an Ottoman avalanche from taking down your landmarks. Military count now 39 to 36 in favor of Baltune, and there's a reason why. These military schools, even though he does have the Vizier point to get the extra one, military schools only go at the pace that, you know, the blacksmith allows them and the military school allows them. These Sipahi getting produced just about every 50 minutes. Because of Baltune's economic prowess, having the second town center, adding an extra 20 villagers, also not getting those villagers raided, as you can see Baltune putting these nice palisade walls around. But having the ability to not get raided means that plus 20 economic lead ends up materializing into something. It ends up materializing into that greater military count. It ends up materializing into 31 villagers on wood, 32 villagers on wood now. Being able to produce rams at a moment's notice, which Baltune is able to do. He's got 1 ram, and it has its sights. It'll get there eventually. but it has its sights on that archery range. Give you a little love tap. Bam! Take away 200 HP off of that archery range. And having this production in front, again, makes it difficult for GiveUA to continue to mass. He's got some workers that are going to end up getting raided by this Night Mass. And we have a South raid, but Baltune spotting it out quite perfectly. Here we go, another battle. This Ram is going to end up going down. I mean, it's not really necessary to micro. It's essentially shrapnel at this point anyway, but thought we were going to see another battle coming in, but GiveUA doing what pro players do very well, changing his army composition. Didn't see a lot of spears in that first battle. Now he's adding a little bit of spearmen. And you might think, well, I mean, Baltune's got 50 archers. Why are you adding spearmen to this? They just get, you know, picked off. But in the middle of the melee mass of the Sipahi and the spearmen, it's going to be very difficult for the archers to micro those spearmen down. And if they're able to get to those knights, it's going to be a GG for Baltune. He knows that he's got to back up. Military count 80 to 57 in favor of GiveUA. He took a lot of archer mass down because of that retreat. Also, we have a raid over here on the north side. Knight there to clean it up. But coming back to the real part of the action, Sipahi trying to get on these archers, not going to be able to do it. Look at this micro with these knights. It's not necessarily creating a front line. It's making sure the archers are safe. Right now, they're not. Knights come in from east to west, trying to take them out. Spearmen, it looks like mostly on the archers right now, because the archer count is dwindling for Baltune severely. 23-21 is going down before I can even, finish my sentences. And GiveUA is continuing to mass up. The archer mass for the Ottomans can't be stopped. 63-25 is the military school. Look at all of these archers, and they are going at the attack speed of plus 15%. These knights, although they do very well against these archers, because of how many archers are here, they gotta back up. This wood line for Baltune is in trouble over here on the east side. Knights end up continuously going down. One thing about knights that is so important is the fact that they are expensive and continuing to be expensive. He's got to continue to pump more knights out. Just having these couple spearmen are really going to help him out. Just having a couple Sipahi really going to help him out as well. Military count 54-21 GiveUA. No matter. Going to back up probably just a little bit. This wooden fortress has been a pain in his side and probably the reason why there wasn't a GG from Baltune's side. And he's probably going to have to back up, get away from that wooden fortress. Now, one of the disgusting things about Ottomans, essentially, is because, look at this. Taking away some berries over here, took this boar. Good job, Baltune. Trying to get some of those resources, because that is a weak point for Ottomans. Getting some of that source, just because of how wood dependent they are and getting all of their archers. Farm transition, rather difficult for them. Sipahi raid for GiveUA on the north side. Probably not going to... Oh, it does get a villager. One worker kill for him. Military... or economic count, excuse me. Baltune in favor, 82-56. He's continuing to hold on. He's continuing to not let an avalanche happen. Sneaky 8 villagers don't get killed. Must have been very silently moving through those stealth forests, but it is able to go. But again, I was going to foreshadow this, but this is the disgusting thing about Ottomans. Because of their military schools continuing to add Sipahi, as we see all 3 of those military schools doing, they're taking those resources and making it so you don't have to make your own. You gain so much resources over time, where, as we've seen through this game in Feudal Age, the Ottomans have either had a military count that is equal or greater than the Rus player, than Baltune. And he's still able to go Castle Age because of it. Because he has those resources at his disposal. Because he hasn't needed to pay for a lot of the Sipahi that have been in most of these fights. For Baltune, and this is the issue, for Baltune, he's had to pay for all of his knights. He's had 4 stables churning out knights. I'm not sure how much he's made, but both sides have killed about 10,000 resources worth of army value. The issue is for GUA, he didn't pay all of that amount, so he's able to go up to Castle Age that a little bit quicker. Baltune has to protect himself just a little bit. Add those fortified palisades, and you see them stretch all the way down, even using some southern villagers to do that, and will be going with Castle Age of his own, Abbey of the Trinity, coming up for him, my personal favorite landmark of all time. Acting as that nice monastery. I'm going to be able to get those warrior monks out. Hopefully we see some Saints Blessing in subsequent fights. Now, GUA kind of had a clock on him when getting into those feudal age battles, those castle age battles, because of the fact that second TC was up very quickly. It started building at about the 5:15 mark. I'm not sure what time it was exactly completed, but it's been continuously pumping for the past 15 minutes. Because of that economic count 96 to 63. More villagers getting down by GUA. No outposts over here. A lot of these villagers, no textiles either. Going to be able to get night raided. That is a lot of idle time. That is a lot of dead villagers. You can see their corpses scattered around those mills. What they thought were happy jobs and their nice little hunting mills turn into a period of death. GUA is not taking any of that crap any longer, and is deciding to try to take down these fortified palisades at the time where Baltune trying to get some upgrades, as you see over here on the upper right hand side. Balanced projectiles, trying to get that +1, trying to get the veteran archers. If you look closely, these Ottoman archers are already better. It's going to take a while for him to get there, and these 8 seconds, 7 seconds, the longest seconds of his life, trying to get up to that veteran archer. Finally it hits. And just like that, like a Lady Gaga wardrobe change, those archers turn into veteran status. But because of the amount of them, how much military GUA has, also a raid coming over here, and because he only has archers, Springwold upgrade for that wooden fortress is going to be beneficial for him, obviously. Going to be able to take out a decent amount of archers, but there are a lot of villagers around these parts. And a lot of Baltune's wood has been unavailable to him. Had to make a different lumber camp and a wooden fortress all the way over here trying to get some wood because he can't make archers right now. And surprisingly, Baltune's not making much of anything in terms of military count, and I think he's spread so thin because of how much is going on. Here's another archer v archer combination. Warrior Monks trying to bring in a relic, goes for a Wololo. Archer's not really in that mass anyway. I think Baltune trying to get a trickle in on some of those archers, but that Warrior Monk will end up going down eventually if it's able to get enough hits in, and it does. We did see some night raids going on the side of GUA. Here we go. Here's a mango shot. 4 or 5 archers go down because of that mango shot. GUA says, I'm the one that gives people anxiety, not other people. It's not the other way around. So he decides to stand there, kill some more archers before backing up. Now military count still in favor of GUA, 44 to 17. Quite interesting, though. We have a lot of idle production buildings from Baltune, and I'm not sure, maybe this is because of an APM tax. There's so many different places where he's getting attacked right now. But he did get these archers cornered. There will be a lot of dead archers. Mango shot. That one archer just getting a couple of those stones right in his dome. And ends up going down because of it. So those are going to get cleaned up. This fortified palisade finally going down. A lot of knights for GUA. And Baltune notices that and quickly starts rushing out the crossbowmen. Instead, not doing anything out of his stables. No knight upgrade, not going for the knights. His food per minute has been very bad over the past, 30, 45 seconds. Just because he's trying to go for a farm transition, he's pretty idled, hasn't had the wood to do so. Ottomans, they're making military for free. all of these knights are coming out. I'm sure GiveUA has the Vizier point in order to do that. He has to go for more static defenses, going with a wooden fortress. This one doesn't do anything, but this one having a Springald upgrade. Going to be able to take down a knight or two in the process, but that's a lot of dead villagers. GiveUA's clock is kind of running out here. There's a lot of knights that are dead here. Baltune going for some field late spearmen because that's all the time he really has to make. He's on his back feet, continuing to produce out of his buildings. Military count 36 to 33. He's got to ward off the Ottoman Empire, and he's got to ward them off now. Good shot for a Springald, trying to take down that mangonel, but gets reduced to firewood immediately afterward. And this wooden fortress, because of the Springald upgrade, the old Springald upgrade, I should say, going to be able to retreat some of these units. Now, GiveUA also adding Janissaries, probably because of the Vizier point, I would imagine. I want to take a double look to see these military school producing knights, not Janissaries. And deciding not to make them just because of how many military schools he had. But the 8 Janissaries having 4 military schools, you get 2 Janissaries each for the Vizier point, so that's why he's got them. Not so much in the way of horsemen out here for Baltune, which could be the reason why he doesn't go into any stable units at all. Could just be because he knows Janissaries might be coming. It would be difficult for him. But GiveUA, although the military count is not as high, Castle Age Spearmen getting a brace on those Ottoman Lancers, or Knights I should say. The Springald's going to be able to get hits on some of the mangonels. The Spearmen doing a good job bracing around, making sure those Springalds stay alive. That's the most important thing for those Springalds, and the most important thing that the Spearmen can do. Crossbowmen trying to help him out. Mangonels with 2 good shots. So many Spearmen and Archers hitting the ground and not getting up. That Springald on its last wheel, essentially, at 4 health. Getting rid of the second mangonel for the Ottomans, and now that Baltune has that siege superiority. And GiveUA is at about 13 in military. He's got to back up. Surprisingly, actually unsurprisingly, all the Janissaries are dead. If you can believe that. GiveUA trying to balance a little bit of that map control, getting rewarded for it, trying to get that middle sacred site captured. Probably end up getting the south one as well. Starting to pick up relics also. Even though the Abbey of the Trinity was there for Baltune quite some time ago, he kind of had a more immediate danger, as we could visualize by some of the production buildings that have been reduced to ruins. But Baltune seems to have stabilized with 100 villagers. Economic count 102 to 63. GiveUA knows he's behind, obviously didn't have a way to close the game out, so what does he do? Town center, boom. Town center, boom. 3 of them. Going to continue to make his economic units. It's really going to help him out. And now I think with the military count for Baltune, 49 to 20. And this one, unfortunately, is going to end up going down over here. Is it Baltune's time to strike? And it looks like it is. He's got 1 mangonel. He's got 2 Springalds. GiveUA's town centers very in front. And we'll see if those town centers end up staying alive. Maybe Baltune might want to go the ram route because of how close those town centers are. And for how good rams are nowadays. Baltune, good presence of mind, repair them Springalds. That one at about 4 health needs a new set of wheels, needs those wheels rotated, maybe an oil change. Because oil exists in this century, right? Gonna put that back up to full health. So you got a free Springald for nothing. GiveUA getting that sacred site again all the way down. In the south, capturing that one in the north. As far as map control goes, however, he's staying more focused into his own base. As you can see here, trying to get some outposts. Does have a little bit of walls over here on the north side and just has a tunnel of entry towards the middle. Tries to add a wooden fortress himself. Not going to go up by the time this outpost gets completed. But I think based on how this game is pushing, unless Baltune goes into a complete and utter wrecking ball with all of his Springles, Mangonels, his Spearmen, etc. Might be ending up for a long game here, and if Baltune decides to just let GiveUA continue to, you know, bolster up his economy, bolster up his military, we're going to get to a point where GiveUA can come back in terms of economic count. Baltune is now population capped, one sacred site being completed in the middle, with the southern site being neutralized. And we'll go with a keep right in the middle. GiveUA has to see that with the outpost right here. And now with about 30 minutes into this game, as we're about to hit our 31st minute, I'm very confused for Baltune's military. Just kind of hanging out. It's not doing much. GiveUA using some of his knights and his scouts with the meta behind it. Might be trying to find some raidable areas, but we have a keep coming up. We have a third town center for Baltune. Trying to repair just to make sure there's no hole here. And it doesn't look like there is. Now Baltune doing tremendously well on food per minute. At about 2,000 food per minute. Very good in terms of a Roost player who needs to get a farm transition. Right, ending up farm transitioning very well, 55 on food. And now, Baltune, instead of taking the fight to him in Castle Age, which I can respect as to why he did not, going to be going up to Imperial with the High Armory. And what will we see in Imperial for Baltune? Are we going to see a lot of those Imperial Rams? And we'll highlight some of the technology as we get to Imperial. Are we going to highlight some Rams? Are we going to add some Streltsy in here? One of the great things, you have all the archery ranges already. Maybe you can add some Streltsy in here. It'd be really good against those knights. Now, GiveUA trying to add the rest of his mass up here. Might he be going for attack of his own? We'll have to see. Maybe until next episode because of how slow the siege is. But it will be continuing to move over to the east, trying to get some more raids in this area. Not going to be able to get any. Baltune obviously sees where this mass is going. We did have a keep over here, so we'll be moving in that particular direction now. High Armory is going to be completed in about 5 to 10 seconds. As you can see here, and we'll see some of the technologies that go on. Sacred Victory lost, wasn't really going for it anyway, but Wandering Town. Ram damage increased by plus 50%. Rams heal 2 health every 1 second. I don't know what them feeding them Rams, but they're able to heal themselves, which is pretty fantastic. GiveUA, knowing that he is nowhere near Imperial Age, needs to get to the base of Baltune in order to try to stop something from happening. Now, Baltune's trying to get all of the Imperial Age technologies. Roller shutter triggers, obviously important. Adding some horsemen, boiling oil, banded arms, which used to be the broken technology. Now, not so much, but that plus 0.5 range for those Springles actually is a big deal. Especially GiveUA, obviously not being Imperial, and those Springles are going to be able to help him out with the Springles of the Ottomans. But good villager kills coming out from GiveUA. There is a keep here. There is a wooden fortress in town center going to be able to help him out. And Baltune is continuing to be pop-capped. Look at these Springles. They're shooting from Narnia. Getting out some of those Springles. Another one turning into firewood. We got 4 Springles left here to only 2 of GiveUA because they just don't have the range. Look at this. They can't fire on them. Now GiveUA loses siege superiority as a result of that. That just goes to show how important this is. On the other side, we have a giant archer mass trying to take down some villagers of Baltune, but they're not really finding it, and you're creating a lot of idle time. There's 39 idle villagers for Baltune, and increasing up to about half his level. But, I mean, this really isn't something that you need to worry about. Just because those archers are going to end up dying anyway. To the south, we have a Rus keep trying to take down some of these knights. We do have some Ottoman rams. One thing about those rams, really do appreciate them, and I enjoy them for what they are. They are not wandering towns, however, so I do not care. But they will be taking that keep down. And we got him trying to just break these fortified palisades. GiveUA is. I think he knows the urgency at this stage of the game. He knows how important it is to try to get to these villagers, try to get them down. He's currently massing some resources. Looks like he's got about 2,000 gold, 950 food. And I don't think he's going for Imperial. I think he's just trying to stay alive for a military count, 63 to 30. And a lot of these units are of the elite variety. We have elite horsemen taking down rams. These spearmen going to be into elite status very soon. Very expensive, but very worth it. Going to get there. We have Springald shooting from a different zip code. Going to be able to take these mangonels down very quickly. And I think now with this siege superiority, you're going to see a difference. Now, Mangonel's going for some of those melee units, not so much for the range. Really want you to go for that archer to crossbow. Do get 2 good shots off. Oh my god, that's 10, at least 10 different archers, crossbows. Those Mangonels, even though they are probably going to die, worth their weight. Mangonel goes down, and a lot of these spearmen ended up getting taken down. And honestly, I thought this was going to be a huge victory for the Rus player, but it ends up becoming a micro disaster for Baltune, and a lot of his range mass ends up going down as a result. The Ottoman Knights in Castle Age are able to hold their own. Military count now 57 to 47. Still in favor of Baltune, but now he's starting to add some more Imperial stuff to the Rus army, because I'm hearing some gunpowder. These are Streltsy coming in here. Decent amount of them, starting to add a little bit more as well. 13 in total in Baltune's army. Spearmen not micro very well. A lot of them starting to go down here. We have a lot of horsemen for Baltune, and I think a lot of that is because of the food economy that Rus has currently. Is Streltsy going to add a little bit of firepower, literally? But here we have 8, another battle of them knights trying to get all the way around for the Ottomans, trying to take out these Springolds, because that is the reason that Baltune is able to continue to push, but he has no way to get to them. That tree line creating that wood wall up to the north. GiveUA doing a last-ditch Wolo, trying to get their Springald snipe it out from a different zip code again. It will continue to be preserved just because of how many there are. They're able to take down some of the knights by themselves. Streltsy adding in that extra DPS that they so desperately needed. Doing a good dodge out of this Mangonel from the west, and as soon as that thing fired, if Baltune ends up paying attention to that western Mangonel, ends up taking one hit from a Springald, gets that second one, pop goes the weasel. And Baltune continuing to reign over this Ottoman land. A lot of, because these, that Imam really tried to get that relic. Oh no, it's a target practice. It's target practice for these Imams. Oh my god. And now this town center going down for GiveUA, continuing to burn. I mean, honestly, for Baltune, most of his micro just came from trying to protect these Springald. He was able to do that successfully, and it kept meaning GiveUA had to back up because it just didn't have the ability to stop them. Villagers coming out of that town center, running into a firing squad. And a lot of these knights trying to get to these Springolds. There's one Springald down, 2, 3, maybe 4. We gonna get to 4? Not so much. 3 Springolds still remain. A lot of this horseman mass over here on the west side ends up getting cleaned up by some of the archers, some of the knights that are there. Now for Baltune, needs to get this mass. He's got a decent amount of spearmen here. He's got some Streltsy. He's got to conglomerate everything. He's got to get everything into one area. So a lot of these Springolds and everything stays protected, and we can see Baltune getting some of the gold resources around the map. No player has really been trying to get trade. It's all about getting this gold all the way around. GiveUA on wood lines all the way in different areas, not going to be able to rebuild his economic count from the town centers. Economic count 123 to 99 in favor of Baltune. Military count 64 to 40, and obviously at a very high quality because of the Streltsy that are here. But they just took some stones to the face by that Mangonel. Mangonel doing good damage for him. Another Imam tries to Wololo. That was the last thing he ever did in his damn life. These Streltsy are going to be able to pick apart these archers rather easily. Military count now continuing to fall for GiveUA, now down below the teens. He realizes his ranged mass is no more, and the Ottoman Empire is no more. On Dry Arabia, Baltune takes the win. What an insanely hard-fought series from both of these players, and I think that this series could have went either way. I think if we did the same thing tomorrow, it could have been 2-1 GiveUA. This was fantastic. Baltune, if we look at total units, obviously staying at the 200, making sure he's pop capped consistently. But it showed how important the villager count was throughout this game. And it ended up paying off. And because for military count, once we got to this point at the 32 to 33 minute mark, he was able to consistently have military and of a high quality. Consistently have Streltsy in order to win this game. The archer mass got reduced, military count obviously dwindled. The Baltune took that series. That was a 2-1. Guys, that was a 42-minute game. It was insane.
We want to thank our MetaPlace website subscribers. Your contribution helps us keep the project sustainable. As we reach higher subscription goals, you are helping us cover more and more behind-the-scenes costs, such as video editing. Check out our subscription page using the link in the description, and remember to collect your perks. We will see you the next time.